Square Enix has recently put out this group customer harassment policy where they can deny you any Square Enix product or service based on your actions and whether or not they fall under this umbrella of things they have listed here within this policy. And instead of immediately grabbing torches and pitchforks, I decided maybe we should probably read through it, see what's going on, see the terms, definitions, and everything that they have listed here. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. Group customer harassment policy. Square Enix believes that the feedback, comments, and requests received from our customers are essential to the advancement of our group's products and services. Therefore, we are committed to strive to apply your voice in approving our products and services. At the same time, there are instances where certain customers take actions directly or through our support centers or towards our group of executives, employees, partners who are involved in the creation and distribution of our group products and services that constitute customer harassment, such as denial of personality, violence, defamation, intimidation, advance notice of wrongdoing, advance notice of obstruction of business, harassment. Such actions do not only prevent our employees and partners from engaging in their work with a sense of security, but also causes disruptions to other customers. Square Enix will not tolerate harassment and will take action as necessary. Group customer harassment policy. Should Square Enix determine that an individual has engaged in an action against one of our employees or partners that exceeds socially acceptable behavior or is harmful, we reserve our right to cease providing support services or to refrain from providing our group's products and services. Where such action is egregious or with malicious intent, Square Enix reserves its right to protect its employees and partners and to take legal action or criminal proceedings upon consulting the police and or lawyers. Actions which Square Enix considers customer harassment or to exceed socially acceptable behavior or is harmful include, but are not limited to, the following examples. And here we have the things that fall under the list of harassment: act of violence, violent behavior, abusive language, intimidation, coercion, duress, excessive pursuit or reprimand, defamation/slander, denial of personality, personal attack, including email, contact and contact form, comment or post on the internet, advance notice of wrongdoing, advance notice of obstruction of business. I need to wrap my head around that one. Persistent inquiries, repeated visits, trespassing by visiting or staying in an office or related facility without permission, unlawful restraint including via telephone calls and online inquiries, discriminatory speech and conduct regarding race, ethnicity, religion, family origin, occupation, etc., infringement of privacy by taking pictures or making video recordings without consent, sexual harassment, stalking, repeated stalking behavior. And for undue demand, we have unreasonable changes or exchange of product or requests for monetary compensation, unreasonable response or request for an apology, including face-to-face response or request for an apology specifying the position of our employee or partners, excessive requests for the provision of products and services exceeding socially acceptable norms, unreasonable and excessive demands for punishment of our employees. And just a reminder, this policy is a translation of our original Japanese policy based upon Japanese law. The policy is applicable globally in accordance with local laws and regulations. Okay, so this was all translated from their Japanese page, and the wording, the whatever grammar might be a little bit off. I think it was all structured pretty clearly, more or less. I don't think anything is really lost in translation here. So let's go ahead and start getting into some of these things that fall under the umbrella of harassment and undue demand. And again, this is not a definitive list. It says right here, that this could include, but are not limited to, the following examples. So there could be a lot more that they're not really explaining. And then some of these things, aren't really well defined. Some of them are just extremely obvious. So if I scroll down here to harassment, act of violence, violent behavior, yes, obviously. Let's see here, trespassing by visiting, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all the trespassing stuff, sexual harassment, yes, all that stuff should definitely be pretty self-explanatory. And then there's some of these things where it's like, where do we draw the line here? What's the bar for some of these things when it comes to, abusive language, intimidation, coercion, duress, excessive pursuit or reprimand. So basically all of the things that have, this kind of wording, persistent inquiries, I would say to be another one. How do you define excessive? Where do we draw the line at persistent? Because if I had a ticket open with Square Enix And let's say I'm calling in once a day or once every other day, checking the status of such a thing. Is that persistent? In my mind, it isn't, but according to them, it could be. And providing some examples on that would have been extremely helpful. And then some of these things, I'm not exactly sure what they mean. Unlawful restraint. I'm not sure what unlawful restraint means. Let's see here. Discriminatory speech and conduct regarding race, ethnicity, religion, family origin, occupation, etc. So right there, etc. There's a whole laundry list of other things they could have on there. But man, you guys could have used this about 20 something years ago, back when all the Western media outlets were just extremely biased against Japanese companies and video games. Yeah, if you know, you know. I do think some of these things under harassment are just fairly obvious and don't really need explanation. Some of these things need to be a bit more clear. But when we get down here to undue demand, you'll notice a pattern here. Unreasonable changes or exchange of product. Unreasonable response or request for an apology. Excessive request for the provisions of products and services. Unreasonable and excessive. Like, you see those two words are literally in every single thing listed in this category. Unreasonable and excessive. How are we defining these things, Square Enix? I'll just use this first one for example. Unreasonable changes or exchange of product or request for monetary compensation. Let's say I'm requesting a refund for a product that was broken on release, or it's just not as it was advertised. Maybe it's somebody's birthday or it's Christmas or whatever. Somebody else bought it in the game. I'm like, okay, well, let me just take this back for refund, right? Whatever reason I'm requesting a refund, in my opinion, that's not unreasonable. But from Square Enix's point of view, it could be. It could have been like, oh, you should have done your research into the product. Oh, you should have read the fine print. And they might see every single request for a refund as unreasonable. This part here, excessive requests for the provision of products and services exceeding socially accepted norms. Now, it's pretty normal for a fan base to repeatedly ask for something, ask for like the next Kingdom Hearts, the next Final Fantasy, the other franchises, Octopath Traveler, whatever it is. Yeah, that's a pretty normal thing for your fan bases to do. Some of them might do it on a daily basis. You've seen the posts on X or whatever where it'll be like, day so-and-so of me asking for Square Enix to do this. At what point do you consider that excessive and cut them off from your products and services? I could go on, but I think you guys get the idea. There's just a lot of things here that are up in the air as far as interpretation goes. Didn't even get into how are we defining defamation, slander, denial of personality, personal attack. Well, like how low is the bar for these things is basically what I would like to know. And again, this is not a definitive list because it says up here, this includes but is not limited to the following examples. And Square Enix is trying to draw a line here, and we're not going to know where it is until they actually start enforcing this policy on people. It's not like I'm against the idea of protecting your employees, but just like I pointed out, how low is the bar for some of these things? When we say persistent, is that like me calling you multiple times a day, every hour? I would say that's persistent. But if I'm doing it once a day or once every other day, that's not persistent. I don't think. You might think so. I don't. If I come in asking for a refund or an exchange because I bought a product that, was not sold as advertised, I don't think that's unreasonable. You might think that's unreasonable because I want my money back, and all requests like that might be unreasonable for Square Enix. And when you say stuff like you can cease providing support services or refrain from providing our group's products and services for any violation of these things, we would appreciate it if these things were well defined. But that's just my thoughts, my opinions on this. I'll leave a link for this down in the description below. You guys can check it out yourselves and let me know what you think in the comment section. Again, I don't have anything against the idea of this. It's just when we're threatening to pull products and services away from people, we should probably be a bit more, strict with the wording and the definitions of everything that falls under this umbrella here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you still a Square Enix fan? Are you going to be supporting them? Or maybe you're going to be sailing the high seas? Leave it all in the comments, man. I'll see you in the next one.